Hello, and good morning. Welcome to the Going Executive Director Show. My name is Brandy, and Jeff will be joining us here in a minute. So our purpose is to bring you the vision, skills, techniques, inspiration, motivation, and daily activities needed for you to build a solid, profitable business. Now remember, this is our team's philosophy, and we will be mentioning company names here, which is the company Legal Shield that we are doing together. So with that, Jeff and I wanted to go over something a little different because we were originally going over John Maxwell's 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader, and we wanted to go over a little bit of a different training. So when I first got into this industry, I started in college and I got in with a group of friends. I wasn't necessarily at that point really looking to make a whole lot of money. I was just in college and I was like, oh, you know what? It would be a cool way to meet some friends, new people, and make friends. And if I make a check, so be it. But the difference between then and now, and then the training I got later, was completely different. So when we first got started, it was go sign up your friends and family, but be excited about it. We were never actually taught how to do the presentation and the right way to do it, which is very common in this industry. So when I went out to all my friends and family, everybody was like, no. They're like, this is a scam. I don't know what you're doing. Actually, my mom canceled my debit card when I went and got mine because I was in a health and wellness company at that time. And every month when my product came in, I would get a phone call from my mother, and she's like, oh my God, they're taking money away from you. And I'm like, no, Mom, that's just, I'm ordering product every month because I need this. And she's like, no, they're stealing money from you. I'm like, oh my God. So that was just a huge chaotic experience in the beginning. But thankfully it all calmed down and I just had to use a prepaid card at that time. Hello, good morning. So anywho, the training that I ended up getting, it wasn't necessary. We didn't have any specifics of what exactly we were supposed to go do when we were sitting down talking with people. So when I met Jeff, it was a huge eye-opener, and this just sounded way more professional and more like what a business person would do. So we would actually use the do me a favor script. It's like, hey, do me a favor. I want to show you what I'm doing. So if you run into the right person, you can refer me. And then just like that, you would go. And he made us learn the presentation. He's like, look, this is something you need to learn if you want to be able to do this. You have to know what your product is and what your company does. So he trained us to do our presentation in 15 minutes. So we would run through the presentation with people, and then at the end, just so that way we're congruent with what we said in the beginning, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you could refer me somebody, or 10 being you may have an interest in this, where are you at? And then based on the number that they gave me, we can go from there and see what we need to do. Now, if they did say like they're a 1 and they can refer me somebody, and I'm like, okay, great. Do you know of anybody right now at the top of your head that you could connect me with? And then we would set that up right there. And if they can't think of anybody right then, and I'm like, okay, no problem, but just so you stay up to date with what I'm doing, is it okay if I keep you up to date with what's going on? So that way, if you run into somebody, you got my information and know what's up. And most of the time people are like, yeah, no problem. David Peters, how's it going? So that was kind of the process that we ended up running through. And I found I got in front of a lot more people that way. And not only did I get in front of a lot more people, it was also more of a positive reaction, because instead of people being like, well, what is this? They were like, yeah, I'll take a look, no problem. And people were a lot more relieved when I did it this way. They're like, I've sat down with a lot of people, but since you did it this way, and I feel more comfortable that I could go do this with somebody else. So I would definitely want to go do this with you guys. And I'm like, awesome. So with that, I'm going to have Jeff take over the training for today.
All right, guys. Dave Peters is with us. Tom just jumped on. What's going on? Like Brandy said, we're going over John Maxwell's 21 qualities, and I think every once in a while you need some nuts and bolts to be able to build your business. And when I first got started inside of direct sales, network marketing, MLM, whatever you want to call it, I got started inside of a company that was a legacy company. It was, at the time, over 40 years old. They were doing over $1 billion in sales, and people use those words, and it doesn't mean anything to most people. But the nice thing was their training was pretty unbelievable. So I was trained initially on basically how to get people started. Ron's with us. What's up, sir? I was trained initially on how to basically put together and build and get started, and they had this like get started right. And the principles were pretty simple. Alex is with us. What's going on? It was an 8-step pattern, and those 8 steps were pretty simple. Define your dream, figure out exactly what you want. Number 2, make some commitments, because if you don't know what to commit to, and what to tell people to commit to, they're going to commit to their own things. 3 is actually make a list. Formulate a list and keep adding to that list. The list basically is like your database of who you're building your business with. Today it's easier to build a list than it's ever been. With Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and your cell phone. Everybody has the contacts right in front of them that they need to work with. The key to that is knowing what to do and what to say to them. The 4th step was contacting and inviting. And that was something that was worked on consistently. The problem was with contacting and inviting, every single person that came in taught something different. And I don't know if you've seen that inside of your company, inside of your business, being involved in MLM. Everybody taught something different. I heard everything from, hey, do you look at other ways to make money? Hey, I'm working on a project. I heard, be upfront. I heard be elusive. I heard use the curiosity approach. I heard don't use any curiosity at all. I mean, it was just all over the place. Andrew, what's up, man? So I got all this different training, but these core things, this 8-step pattern on getting started right, always seem to resonate and make sense. Obviously defining your dream, figuring out what you want, making some commitments, knowing what to commit to. Number 3, making a list and an ongoing list and keeping that list up to date with where people are at in the flow of this system. 4, contacting and inviting, what to say up front. And that's what confused me the most, because everybody said something different. Now, when it came to actually booking an appointment, Francisco's with us. What's up, sir? When it came to actually booking an appointment, this became easier and easier, because being in the mortgage business, I had to set appointments on a regular basis. And I took a lot of the information that I got from direct sales and network marketing, and I brought it over into the mortgage business, and it worked so well. I learned something called the choices close, and the choices close is nothing more than the choices appointment setting. Basically what happens is you give people 2 choices, and you narrow down. I'll give you, for instance, if somebody's like, hey, we need to meet this, in the next few days. Let's say we need to meet in the next few days. I said, okay, what's better, during the week or during the weekend? That's 2 choices. They're my choices, because it's not 10 days from now. It's, this week or this weekend. I'm giving people those 2 choices. Then they say weekend. I say, great, Saturday or Sunday. Again, it's 2 choices. They say Sunday. I say, great, afternoon or evening. And they say afternoon. I say, great, 1 or 3. So we went from one set of choices to another set of choices to another set of choices to another set of choices. And in the end, what happens is people end up booking their own appointment. Kyle's with us. What's up, sir? They end up booking their own appointment, and it feels like to them that they're in control of what's going on. But the reality is I made all the choices. So again, you go from week or weekend, and they say weekend. I say Saturday or Sunday, and they say Sunday. I say, afternoon or evening, and they say afternoon. I say 1 or 3, and they say 3 o'clock. So therefore, it's just a funnel that narrows down to that appointment time. Mm-hmm. Once you get that appointment time, now it's very easy. Scott's with us. What's up, sir? You have the ability to move forward and say, okay, where would you like to meet? Now that I have the time narrowed down and the day narrowed down, where are we going to meet? What place? I always ask, I said, well, what's the nearest Starbucks or Panera Bread to you? This is called Go to the People. if I'm booking an appointment to see them. Now, typically what I do in my process is I'll talk to everybody over the phone. My thing is because time is so limited, and because we have all this technology now, it absolutely makes no sense to drive to the other side of town to meet with somebody face to face until I tell them what I do and find out if they have an interest. You have the ability to pitch somebody over the phone an overview of what you do to see if it makes sense to actually get in front of a person. Nowadays, if that person doesn't engage, meaning they don't have an interest in getting together, there's no reason to get face to face with them, unless you're already friends with them and you're just catching up anyway, and you're like, hey, let's catch up. I have certain people that I know for a fact that I wouldn't be able to pitch and close over the phone, that I would be able to pitch face to face and close. The reason why I'd want to meet with them face to face is I already know what their personality is, and that's where, more books, more training, more information make it a little bit easier to build a business. Is I know certain people's, like, the way in which they do business, and sometimes it's the age group, and sometimes it's the personality. It just depends on the person. But what I want to do is I want to use that information to my advantage to speed things up. Everybody talks about duplication. Look, if you're not sponsoring anybody, fuck duplication. There's no duplication going on if you're not recruiting anybody. It's get a couple people in and then get them to the event. I was told very early on, and it took me a long time to hear this, but I finally heard from this guy. He goes, I don't care where you get somebody from, and I don't care how you get them. I just care once you get them, that they go through this training process and they get involved in the training. Once they get involved in the training, everything else will figure itself out and work itself out. And the guy happened to be military, and it made a lot of sense. He goes, if you think about it, the military's developed such a process that they can take anybody from anywhere, 18 to 27, and they can bring somebody in 18 to 27, male or female, any part, city, country, any background, any education, and they're able to put them through a process, and on the other side, spit out exactly what they want in almost every case. Now, not everybody makes it through, granted, but for the people who do make it through that training process, on the other side, they come out a product of what they want. And he said that's basically the system that you want to build. Is you want to build a system where you can find people from anywhere. Because the reality is all of us are going to find people differently, and all of us are going to say things a little bit differently. What I was just trying to do was I was trying to narrow it down and make it easy for me and easy for other people. What I did is I looked at what I could get done, and then I looked at what others were doing, and I wanted, if the standard is, somebody tripped over information, picked it up and got in, and somebody else was super professional and drove up in a Ferrari and got out in a suit and tie and had a Rolex on, what is the in-between there that the majority of people could do? I looked for where the bell curve was the highest, and I was like, where is this section right here? What is going on right here where we can capture 30,000 a year to about 75,000 a year? That's kind of middle America. And if you're building an international business, in Canada, it's about true too. 30,000 to about 75,000, maybe as much as 100 nowadays, because if you're on either coast, $100,000 really isn't that much money anymore, especially after you take out taxes and cell phones and car payments and house payments and Netflix and all the other things that we basically join, and all the monthly expenses we do have. But where is that middle ground? Jim's with us. What's up, sir? Where is that middle ground where we can bring people in and bring people on board, where we can recruit the most people? And I realized that's what I was looking for, and I wanted that process. So define your dream, make some commitments. We'll talk about this over the next few weeks. These are just some nuts and bolts. Develop a list. Where do you develop a list? How do you develop a list? We'll talk in depth about doing this. Database, our company happens to have a internal database that you can use. There's external databases you can use. You can use notebooks. I try to start everybody the same way once they get in, with few exceptions. Just because Legal Shield has kind of a weird, there's a bunch of different lanes you can go. In some cases, people want to choose a lane that has nothing to do with networking. but you still need to know some of this stuff if you plan on building a business. The contacting and inviting. Contacting is what do you say up front to basically get in front of people, and then the inviting is how to set a time to actually show it to them. And we talk about it. Choice is close. The fifth area is the presentation itself. We were taught to do the presentation, and here's just my overall feeling. I think everybody should know their presentation. I think everybody should know their presentation inside of direct sales or network marketing. Here's why. If you look outside of direct sales and network marketing, there's not a real estate company, there's not an insurance company, there's not a financial services company. There's really not any sales organization that I personally know of, whether it's pots and pans, knives, Tupperware, a coffee company, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're selling, pools, hot tubs, spas, cars, there's no fucking company on the planet that sells the idea that all you have to do is share a video with people. Would you buy insurance from somebody who's like, look, I'm new, I know I have my insurance license, but I'm not supposed to say anything about insurance because of, that's just the way we do it. Just go watch this video, and then I'll put you on the phone with somebody else, and then if you want to buy insurance, then we'll buy insurance. Would you buy insurance from that person? The answer is no. I mean, I've asked this to hundreds of people. Nobody would buy insurance. Could you imagine in real estate? You're like, yeah, me and my wife, me and my fiance, we're kind of looking for a house. And the real estate agent goes, now I know I've been doing this for a while, but in our company, the most important thing is duplication. We can't actually show you the house. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you go watch this video first about buying houses in your area. And once you're done and you know the process about buying houses, then I'm going to put you on the phone with somebody else that can talk to you about buying. You'd never work with that person, guy or girl. So why is it that inside of network marketing direct sales that this is approached? And then people will throw this one at me. Well, you have to understand, Jeff, network marketers are part-time. I'm like, realtors are fucking part-time too. So are insurance people. Try again. There's all these reasons that people have been given why they don't have to know stuff. Now, here's the real two reasons. Here's the real two reasons why the videos. The real two reasons why the videos is, number one, professional critique, should not use that. Jim, not really. This is not for open group. This is for our team specifically. So two reasons. Number one, the number one reason why they do this is for overall congruency of a company. The overall congruency of a company specifically is so that way you follow exactly what the company wants to say. It's more for compliance than anything. Inside of insurance, inside of financial services, inside of real estate, there are compliance things that you have to say. Licensing wise, to keep your license, to keep everything good on the books. Obviously, a doctor can't tell you anything they want. A realtor can't tell you anything they want. A financial services person can't tell you anything you want. But it's okay to send them a video, and here's the guidelines, right? You want to stay compliant. The second reason why that I realized people came out with these videos is the top earners got super lazy. And, I've argued with top earners who make over $1 million a year all the time about this particular one. I said, look, certain people spent 5 years, 10 years hustling in the industry, making the phone calls, setting the appointments, doing the presentations themselves. They were doing the presentations. They were doing them over the phone. They were doing them face-to-face. And they built these giant organizations around the world. And they taught their team to do the presentation. Their team was knowledgeable about what was going on. Here's what happened. One day, this video idea comes along, and the people who had hustled for years at doing this are like, I can now go to the golf course. I can now sit at home. I can now go to the pool. I can now go on vacation. I can now go spend time with my family. And I can tell the field, I sent my 2 videos today. Did you send your 2 videos today? And they can go off and do whatever they're doing. And now all they have to do is make that attempt to send out their 2 videos or 5 videos or whatever they're sending out. And now they can go play lifestyle, which is what everybody wants, really. They can go play lifestyle, and what ends up happening? They're good. They're good. They're like, I'm good. Are you good? I sent out my 2. Did you send out your 2? Which is fine. But the problem is that's not how they got there. And that's the issue that I've always had with that entire scenario and philosophy. That's not how they got there. You know, and if I went back and tracked and looked and I started asking questions of people who make over six figures in this industry, and without exception, I haven't run into a single person that didn't down the road learn how to do those presentations. Even if they use some kind of digital media formulation of whatever, they learn how to do the presentation well enough where they were able to take their own presentation and put it online, and they were getting their physical presentation. But I recently have talked to 3 people who make over $1 million in the industry, at whatever point. You know, they might not be making currently, but that's their background. They've made over $1 million. All of them, I was like, hey, I see you're working on a new project. Yeah, absolutely. And then they'd give me a 10-minute overview of it, and then they'd send me the information. And I was like, see, you still are doing exactly what I've been talking about, but you're teaching from stage. And that was always the problem is the deception from stage is, and I understand it's the sale up front. When you're in a room full of new people, you're trying to tell them it's easy as possible. You're trying to get the most people to join. But there's always 2 philosophies here. It's like, what is the thing that'll get the most people to join? Because in the end, you're going to have fallout no matter what you do. You know, everybody's like, well, it's all about retention. And I was like, well, if it's all about retention, I mean, the industry has horrible retention. Gym memberships have horrible retention. Piano lessons have horrible retention. That's just how it is. There's no system, there's no DVD, there's no training program that's really going to fix that, because the industry is tough, and tough things have shitty retention. That's just how it works. That's not necessarily geared to one place or the other. That's just how it is. So, compliance, number 1. Number 2 is it gives people the ability, it gives leaders the ability who spent years hustling to kind of back off a little bit. When I look at the results, why is it nobody since then has made the money you've made in your company? Why is it nobody's made the money since you made it? You know, oh, and I get that, well, they're not willing to work as hard. They're not willing to, no, they're not doing what you did to get there. They're not doing what you did to get there. The process has changed. Therefore, it's not going to be possible for somebody else to get there. Because if there was, I mean, if it had been a year later, exactly, you haven't found anybody. But if it's been 20 years later and nobody's gotten there, you can't tell me, you know, we've gone through 17 million people and we still don't have a single person who's equal. No, the process changed. You changed the process of what it takes to actually physically get there. What are you teaching people to do? So 5 was a presentation. 6 is showing up to an event. Showing up to an open house. That's where you learn the presentation. And we'll talk in depth about each one of these sections, but showing up to the presentation to understand how it works, what's going on. 6, training. You're going to need some kind of training on an ongoing basis to teach the new people. And here's the thing, you're not going to be able to hear it all at once. Even if we tell you it all at once, it's just like anything at school, especially something that you're going to do over and over and over again. They teach the basics over and over again in football. They teach the basics over and over again in golf, in basketball. I'm sure in curling, I don't know how to curl, but if you watch curling at the Olympics or the Winter Olympics, I'm sure they teach the basics of curling over and over. Here's how to sweep real fast. It's going to be the basics over and over again. And by learning the basics over and over again and hearing the basics over and over again, not only do you learn it, you learn how to teach it. And if you learn it and learn how to teach it, then your business then can kind of figure this out. And, you know, the duplication thing is great, but also, you know, there are certain people who are going to be qualified to move this to another market. It's not so much that it duplicates perfectly everywhere. It's that you're able to build something in another market that can basically take over and do what's going on. And if you don't have that person, it's not so much about it duplicating as it is it expanding? And if it's expanding, are you able to then train somebody else to do it in another market? Here's what's funny. You don't hear in RE/MAX, and I was part of RE/MAX, you don't hear the word duplication mentioned in RE/MAX. At least I was there for 5 years. I never heard it. I don't know about Keller Williams or any of the other businesses. You know, I'm just come from real estate, so I'm just using that as an example. I'm pretty sure in State Farm, they're not saying we need to duplicate exactly what. No, we have a training process, and if we train people the right way, they will have their own flavor, their own personality, but we're going to follow the guidelines of what goes on. But not everybody's going to duplicate that specifically. Some people are going to sell a little bit, some people are going to sell a lot in insurance, some people might sell personal policies, some people might sell business policies, but the objective is to get policies in. 6, 7 was training. 8 was showing up to a regional. 9 is basically conventions, what the purpose of conventions are. To take people out of their market for a weekend, to train them to be able to bring in third party from a bunch of different areas and hear from people all over the country succeeding. So therefore, you can't use the excuse, well, it works in California, it works in Florida, it works in New York, but it doesn't work here in the Midwest. Or it works here in the Midwest, but it doesn't work like that in Florida. Once you have people from all over the country coming in and saying, look, it's working everywhere, it's really hard. What happens is your belief goes up. And then the last thing that I was taught was the MAP is basically have a massive action plan. And what you want to do is you want to check these things off. So in the beginning, you want to check these things off. Did I go through this process, right? Did I go through this process? Did I go through this 8-step pattern? Did I go through, the process of the 10 core? So the 8-step pattern, again, was define your dream, make some commitments, make a list, learn how to present, learn how to follow up. Got to learn how to follow up and use third party. I've used third party a little bit differently. I was taught by a company that's much larger than any of the other companies out there. And in my viewpoint, I see they had more freedom. They had more freedom than anyone in between at the higher levels of any of the other companies. And what I mean by more freedom is they weren't tied up by their team and by the process. And what I was looking for when I got into direct sales and network marketing is I was looking to be able to walk away and actually have some freedom. I wasn't looking to be on the phone more than when I was a real estate agent. I was looking to be on the phone less. And then, people always use a statement, well, Jeff, you have to understand I love doing what I'm doing. I get that. But I've also talked to all these people behind closed doors when they're not on stage saying that. And, I know how worn out you are. And I've also talked to some spouses about it. And about how, I wish, we can never get away, and the phone rings constantly, and this, that, and I hear the complaints too. So I was looking for a process that if I built it, I liked it, my significant other liked it, and the people around us liked it. So that way together, we actually had a group of people that wasn't saying one thing on stage and then getting off stage and complaining about it. Mm-hmm. Now, you're always going to complain about some stuff. I mean, here's the thing, nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect. I haven't figured out the perfect way to do it. I'm just looking for a way to do it in which it attracts the majority, the bell curve. We attract the bell curve. It's a process everybody can do, everybody likes doing, better than, the alternative of just running around and chasing people, which seems to be what the industry is made up of.
And teaching people what they need to do, so that way the group grows away from you, not just having them to constantly come to you, because the goal is to get everybody independent, so that way you're not wearing yourself out. Like even with we just got started 70 days ago. Like we already have a handful of people on the team where they can go do the presentation, and if we're not available, they can go to somebody else on the team and be like, hey, I need somebody. They've already seen the presentation. I've shot them the video. I need somebody for third party. Are you available? I'll send a 3-way text. Can you go talk to this person and just see what else they need? We have people on the team that can do that without us being there.
So guys, this is just some basics. We're going to give some nuggets out over the next 30 days. The month of June. For those of you who don't know, the industry, at the beginning of the year, it goes straight up. Why? Because everybody's making their New Year's resolutions. At the end of January, 1st of February, everybody gets their tax returns. So everybody has that chunk of money. Everybody has a feeling that they're like, I need to make changes. I need to do something. I got to make it happen. Then what happens in the United States and Canada as well, because I've seen this in Canada too, because we were an agricultural society for so long and the school system was built around the agricultural society, what happens is about the end of May, beginning of June, everybody mentally checks out because everybody was off school, everybody's summer vacation, woohoo, let's go on vacation, let's kind of take the time off, and numbers dip in all meetings across the board. Mm-hmm. And I've been in multiple companies, and I've seen this happen everywhere, all the way across the country, because we built a society like that. What I can tell you is if you're serious and focused, this is where you can get further ahead than anybody. You can put the work together right now, over the next 30 days, learn this stuff, and you can just smash it over the summer when everybody else is taking off, when everybody else is resting, when everybody else is kind of, treading water, would be a good way to say it, instead of actually swimming as hard as they can to get out of the water. Instead of just treading water, you can just take off, and in the end, what will happen is by fall, you'll be so far ahead of this other group, they'll never be able to catch you again. Never. So that's kind of our plan. We plan on being done, and done meaning we're going to be at where we planned on being by the end of summer, where we can make some lifestyle changes, and you'll see the lifestyle changes. It'll be very, very evident that we've changed locations, if that makes sense. Better weather, no allergies, those kind of things.
Yep.
What you drive, what you dress like, what you look like, the environment changes. That's the goal. And when those things start happening, you'll understand how fast of a time. I mean, we're talking about a 6-month time frame. You know, you get a degree in 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, 24 years, depending on how slow you go through school. But we're talking about being able to make massive change in 6 months by doing some of the things we're talking about, and then just amplifying it and putting it. You know, most people never go all in anything they do, but if you go all in, imagine being able to make that change in 90 to 120 days, maybe as much as 6 months, instead of 6 to 10 years. So with that, we're going to jump on this next training, and we'll talk to you all real soon.
All right.